This studio tour is brought to you by Squarespace. I've had my studio for about 1.5 years now. It went from being an outdated hair salon to now my dream photography YouTube space. Taking on the responsibility of a lease, whether or not you can afford it, it's super intimidating, but I'm glad I did it because not only has my studio photography been leveled up, but also the production value of my videos has gotten so much better. I feel like my studio is finally in a good place. So I'm gonna show you around using my super ridiculous Tilta POV helmet with the Sony A7S3 and the 14mm 1.8 attached, and also the DJI Ronin gimbal with the Raven Eye tracking system as my second angle. One of the new additions to my shooting area is this new Manfrotto rail system. Couple reasons why I got it. I wanted a cleaner aesthetic in the studio, and it keeps the floor free of any light stands and clutter. And plus, I'm a clumsy photographer. I'm constantly adjusting lights, moving back and forth, and I'm always tripping over light stands. So that also helps me in that regard. It's really, it serves its purpose. It's very functional. It's very easy to use. The only thing that I don't like about using it is that if you have a ceiling that's not perfectly level, you got to buy adapters for it. And then if your ceiling is really unlevel like mine, there's still certain points where if I put this light over here, it'll creep, see? It'll move on its own. So, I mean, that's the best I can do. But in certain points, it does not creep. And I'm already kind of familiar with those points, so it doesn't really hinder my process. And it looks pretty badass, let's be honest. And in my studio, I'm using all Wescott FJ400 strobe lights. They're all wireless, which is great. I don't gotta run no wires or anything like that. Of course, I'm using the best modifiers around, the Manny Ortiz Beauty Dish. Hello, that's the Wescott Beauty Dish, 36 inches, the best on the planet. A little bit biased, but hey, that's actually facts. My backdrop mounting system has not changed. I got a very generic, 3 backdrop mount from B&H Photo. I use nothing but Savage paper backdrops here. These are like the 9-footers, I believe. Got the Aputure Amaranth 200 with the lantern here, just kind of providing light when it's dark outside from this part of the studio. Spreads light really nicely. And what's a studio without a tethering setup? All of this was provided by Tether Tools, except for this cheap monitor here. It's a really nice, pretty sturdy setup. Got the cord, got the V-mount, battery adapter thingy and everything. Admittedly, I haven't used it much recently, but when I want to get precise results, I plug that into my camera because, you need to see it on the big screen sometimes. And this was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I used to have, I still have a Savage backdrop. It's a dual setup. I used to have 2 different backdrops here. So, it's like I could be more efficient when I shoot. I could do one shoot here, I could do another look here and another look here, but I found myself not really doing that much, just sticking to this spot. So I'm gonna make this place more functional. I will get to that part in a bit, but over here, I've got a 5-tier shelf from Amazon, and I have all of the stuff that I would need for a shoot here. And I'm still kind of organizing everything like that, but I would have to run back there in my office to grab just little things, and now I can just grab it here. And now for the YouTube setup, this is my main setup here. This is a Nail Tech chair on Amazon. It's great, it's very comfy. All right, we got the FX3 and the 20mm 1.8, and the reason why I got the FX3 is because it comes with the audio handle. And the 20mm 1.8 is my primary video lens. It's tiny, slightly wider than a 24mm, and then at f1.8, it still gives me that nice background blur. I'm the kind of person that does like 20 different takes when I'm shooting if I'm not scripting it, and being able to have that high quality audio baked into the footage. So all I got to do is remove one SD card instead of removing 2 with the audio mixer. That makes my life so much easier. I normally have a Ninja Atmos here, but I kind of repurposed one of my old computers. This is a Dell all-in-one. I said, hey, you know what? I might as well put this here and use this as a screen to monitor myself. So I've got that feed coming into here. I can see if I have any eye boogers or anything like that. I also have a projector connected to this computer for those boxing fight nights. We project it on that wall almost every Saturday. Any kind of fight, we have it here. On my main rig, I'm using a very simple wide angle teleprompter. so that when I attach it on here with the 20mm, I'm not getting much of you know, it's not cutting off the frame at all. And I use my phone to project all of the text. I have a bigger one on my other setup on the other side. I'll show you guys in a bit. I'm using a Rode Podcaster mic, and I have my more expensive Sennheiser mic on my other setup that I'm going to show you after this. I've got some acoustic panels laying around everywhere. Again, I'm not an acoustic genius. This is just, you know, like, I don't know what I'm doing. Please help. I've got the Aputure 120D, the old school 120D with the first, with the light dome. And that pole that both my FX3 and Aputure light are mounted to, it's called the Very pole. No tools necessary. It's a pressure mounted system, and it's a great hack if you don't want light stands taking up all of your floor space. I've got a Nanolite FS300 with the Godox SA17 projector, and what this does, it projects a fake window on the wall over there. You see that? That fake window that you see in my videos comes from this. This is my second YouTube recording space. Before, I used to have a bunch of light modifiers and light stands lined up against this wall right here. But I'm like, you know what? I could make better use of this space. Let me make this area more functional. So when I do my documentary style videos, I'm always having to, you know, put everything up, take everything down. So I said, you know what? I'm going to just dedicate this space so that I don't have to like spend an hour of setup and tear down. You know what I'm saying? So here I've got some Nanolite Paddle tubes with a double mount on each side. I have a V-flat on that side with an audio blanket attached to it. I've got a reflective paper here, you know, giving off this like the spaceship sci-fi vibes that I kind of go for when I do these on a C stand. For recording, I usually have my A7S3 or the A7 IV with the XLR, the K3M, I believe, audio handle that gives me XLR inputs, and I mount that to my Sennheiser mic right up there on a C stand. I have a Glide Gear teleprompter with an iPad. I'm usually shooting this with a 35mm f1.4 with a Cinebloom filter on it. To monitor myself, I'm using a FieldWorld 7-inch monitor. This double stand here, you've probably never seen this before, and I didn't have much of a use for it in the past, so it stayed in storage, but now I have a perfect use for it. It's holding both Paddle tubes on each side, so if I come in here, just like that, you know, I don't have to have two different light stands on each side, and it's always like kind of uncomfortable to get in here. I also have a V-flat back there, kind of just separating this spot away from everything else, and also the reflections that this cast, you know, it shows off everything else in the studio if I'm shooting in the daytime, so that also helps. And this is the lounge area. I used to have a living room couch on that side, and it just wasn't the vibe that I was going for. I wanted to create more, I wanted to separate the studio. There's a lot of space here. Why not make like a little lounge collaborative area? So that's what I did. I got 3 love seats on Amazon and a coffee table. Everything's from Amazon, honestly. Those love seats are not comfortable at all. They might look nice. It's more comfortable sitting on the floor. Trust me, they're not great. I do like this coffee table and that rug, both on Amazon. All right, here I have the Aputure Nova P300C. It's like a broadcasting light, super powerful. What I do is I just blast light into that corner, and it kind of bounces light back in the studio when there's not a lot of natural lighting. Over here, I got some of my boxing stuff here, you know, when I got to get some stress out. You know what I'm saying? Again, got that on Amazon. I got a reflex bag that I also got on Amazon. You don't want none of this, boy. The new thing that I implemented in the studio is a product B-roll area. So before I used to have a backdrop here. Again, I'm not using it much. I'm always doing product B-roll, always setting up, tearing down. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to dedicate this space. I'm always have new gear here, and I'm always doing B-roll. I've got the Rhino Arc 2 slider. I'm using this thing for everything, and I freaking love it. The problem is to go up and down. If I'm trying to get different angles, it's a pain. It takes time to raise and lower the tripod every time I want to get a different angle with the Rhino. So if I want to get a high angle shot, instead of raising and lowering the tripod, I could just use the standing desk to elevate the product or lower it. And now I could get those angles much faster. This is a 7-foot Westcott Umbrella, the main lighting for this. I got that super clamp there. I usually, that's for like a top-down camera if I want to use one. And wow, how rude am I? This is Sarah. You might remember her from the first studio tour video. She got me in a lot of trouble, you know.
Oh, hell no! What is this?
Sarah, she's mine. I just put it together right now. I bought her
When were you gonna tell me that you got her?
I was gonna tell you, but
Sarah?
look,
You named
her arms move.
What?
Her arms move.
So do mine. You want to see how they move?
But
what is this?
It's gonna be great for my tutorials. You know.
Okay, so you don't need me. Have fun cooking him dinner. He's a picky eater.
Her off a mannequin store online to, you know, help me out with different lighting setups that I want to try out that, you know, it doesn't require a model to be present here. She got the Weekend at Bernie glasses on. This is a really good purchase.
Before we head into the office area, I do want to give a shout out to my sponsor, and that is Squarespace. So if you've been looking to start a website, a blog, or open up an online store, this is where you need to be. Using your social media as your portfolio is okay for casual stuff, but everyone should have a website. Not only does it make you look more professional, but it's yours. The best part is that it's so easy to use. You don't need any experience with coding or graphic design. They offer 24/7 customer support. If you want to sell something online, you can do that too. I have an online store with Squarespace where I sell my Lightroom presets, my retouching tutorial that I make a great side income with. I'll leave a link in the description below. And if you use the coupon code Manny, you will get 10% off your first purchase. And this is where the magic happens. This might look a little familiar. I used to film my videos out of this little room, and I don't know how it looks on camera. This isn't a large space. And I did it because the audio was much better in here than it is out there. I even installed this audio cloud thing. It looks really cool, but again, it was just too cramped, way too cramped. These are some Liffix Lights. They change color. They have all the special effects. I have a curved monitor here that I'm not using right now, but I used to have my PS5 in here. Bad idea. Do not bring your PS5 to your workspace. Oh, here I have a lot of my boxing stuff. So my headgear, because I spar with my buddy here a lot at the studio. This is like an IKEA dresser that I have all my stuff in. Some of my cameras and stuff like that. I've got this office, what is this? Like Office Max chair. I love this chair. And Diana got me this massage thing for my chair. That's like one of the best gifts ever. All right, for the desk setup, I have a fully standing desk. I used the Sony WH whatever majiggies headphones for video editing. These are a must. Noise canceling. I mean, you need one of these. I edit on the MacBook Pro. I'm editing off a BenQ 32-inch monitor. Super color accurate. I usually just connect it like this and have two different displays. I've got my loop deck over here. This is where I have all my shortcuts for when I'm editing Final Cut, and I also got this skin overlay, so I'm trying to edit as efficient as possible. I've got those speakers on Amazon. I forgot what they're called. What else is there to show in this space? One of the biggest perks to this spot is having a kitchen area, and right now I'm using it mostly for storage because I'm waiting on the landlord to give me some more space. But here is a very beautifully wire tucked charging station. Supposed to be really nicely wire tucked and everything, but honestly, who the hell has time for that? I don't. It serves its purpose, but hopefully one day I can maybe hire somebody to make a nice clean setup for me. And this is an Amazon, I think it's like some kind of storage rack on Amazon where you're supposed to like put it in the garage, and I'm using it to kind of, put on my tripods, stands. So I was gonna end this video in the kitchen, but what's a studio tour without showing you the gear that I use for my production? And there's a lot to go over here. I'm gonna try to be as fast as possible, but I got the Nikon Z9. This is a camera that can do it all, but because of the lens selection, I'm not gonna be shooting outdoors with it much, because for my other systems, I have a lot of f1.4, f1.2 glass, that sexy, fast aperture glass that Nikon doesn't have yet. So I'm going to be using the Z9 mostly in the studio, not even for video, just for photos, because I enjoy using the camera. It's just the biggest and the heaviest one. And if I don't have a reason to go out there, like if I don't have a 200mm f2 for this, or an 85-1.2, 85-1.4, I have other options, better options for outdoor use. Got the Canon R5. I'm mainly using this for photography and B-roll here in the studio. Got the A7S III, which is my primary video camera. This is literally going to be still like the holy grail camera for a content creator. You know what I'm saying? I do have the A7 IV. A7 IV is there on the gimbal, the one that was tracking me on the Ronin. Yeah, the A7 IV is probably the best hybrid camera on the market, especially for the money. But I'm mainly using that for video. I've got the Sony A1, which is still probably my number one camera, you know, and a lot of it is attributed to me knowing this camera inside and out. I've done so much with it. I feel like it's just the true jack of all trades camera. Well, not true jack of all trades because it doesn't have the flip screen, so it's not like I could just record myself without having anxiety that I'm not in the frame. But, you know, jack of all trades in terms of like behind the camera. It can do everything that you could possibly want, you know. The R3, the R3 is truly the jack of all trades because it does have the flip screen. So, okay, if you want to film yourself, you could do that. The autofocus is insane. Subject tracking. And you know, Canon has the f1.2 glass, right? Like the 85-1.2, which is just pure magic. I also have the Sony A7c. I'm mainly using this as like a BEC cam in the studio. I'm not shooting much with the older, like the 8-bit cameras, mainly because I shoot everything in 10-bit 422, and it is so addicting to shoot S-Log. Like right now I'm shooting S-Log 10-bit, and it just doesn't look the same. You know, it's hard to match up the colors when I'm shooting any kind of log on the 8-bit camera. Here I have the FX6. So I don't own the FX6. This is literally a rental because you can't buy it anywhere. But I got this as a rental because I'm thinking about buying a cinema camera, because there's just something about having a camera that, let's say someone's like videotaping me out on location or whatever the case is, you could just pick up this camera and not need anything else. You don't need any ND filters. You don't need, because I'm always forgetting something. And the less the better. You could just pick up this camera with a 24-70 attached to it, and you could just pretty much film anything, anything. And with the ND filter and the auto ND outdoors, and having that just the camera just expose everything properly, it's magical. That's why I want to buy one. It's just you can't find them anywhere. But I'm actually thinking FX6 or C70 as like my primary cinema camera, and I've watched all the videos and I still don't know what the hell I want to do. But so far I really like it. It's just I need to try out the C70. I have not tried that out yet. I have the Fuji X100V. This is my main family camera. This is the one that I take like if I go to the zoo with my daughter. This is the one that I usually capture like candid shots and even video, because it has an internal ND. It's low-key a pretty good video camera with the simulations, and then with the ND filter you get some pretty cool results out of the X100V. The X Pro 3, and I love the idea of going out doing street photography. It's tempting, but then I'm like, nah. So I never ended up like going out and doing street photography, but if I do, it's going to be with the X Pro 3. Because again, it's just one of those cameras that make you want to actually go shoot. But I still haven't gone out and shot yet. So what I'm going to do is leave affiliate links in the description box for almost everything that I talked about. It's probably going to take me a couple hours. I want to thank you for making it up to this point. And if there's any part of the studio that you like the most, I would love to hear your input, or what can I do better, especially with audio, because my audio is still kind of, it's a little iffy, but I would love to hear your input, not just for engagement reasons. I would really like to hear your input. All right, I got to call Diana back.